Let's talk about Ryan's big decision with our political panel. We have Joe Zepecki, Democratic strategist and founder of Zepecki Communications. Also here, former GOP strategist and public affairs consultant Brian Nemoir. Joe, let me start with you. On the political Richter scale, how big of a shift in the landscape with Ryan's decision today?
Probably a 7 or an 8. I don't think this was totally out of the blue. There's been reporting as far back as December that indicated that this was a possibility, but it certainly appears to have taken Wisconsin Republicans by surprise today. You don't see anybody waiting in the wings to jump into this race. A lot of people just now starting to consider whether they should run to succeed Mr. Ryan.
Brian, did the timing surprise you?
Well, I don't think the timing is as much surprising. If you listen to Paul Ryan talk, you spend any time around him, he's always talked about being a citizen legislator and hopping back and doing something different in his life. His family's great fortune is the state's loss, in the sense that we're losing a guy who has really been a policy innovator and helped put our state on the map.
So Ryan says a big part of his decision was family. Doesn't want to be just a weekend dad to his 3 kids. But Brian, the GOP is also facing major historical headwinds here. Republicans were facing a tough battle to hold the House.
Well, let's back up just a second, Charles. I mean, that's a district in our last Supreme Court race that the conservative Judge Skrenik won. It's also a district in which 4 of the largest Senate districts are held by Republicans. So there is certainly cause for optimism. Donald Trump took that district, and quite honestly, his favorability ratings, both Donald Trump's and now the soon-to-be departed Paul Ryan's, were very good in that district.
All right, so he could have held the seat, but Joe, would he have been able to hold the House? And is the blue wave for real here?
Well, it might be. I mean, we've seen districts that Trump won by 17 points flip in remote northwestern Wisconsin in the last couple of months. So there's no question that the environment favors Democrats, but it's up to candidates, whether it's Randy Bryce or Kathy Myers down there in southeast Wisconsin, to paint a compelling vision of where they see the country going that stands in contrast to what Mr. Ryan has done and what the Republican opponents who run for that seat are going to be arguing for.
Let's talk about that quickly, Joe. We're seeing iron worker Randy Bryce. You mentioned him. He's the Democratic front runner. What happened? What changed today for him with Ryan's decision?
Well, I think it changes the calculus. Paul Ryan was the boogeyman for a lot of people on the left, and I think it made it a little bit easier for him to raise a lot of the money that he was able to. Now he doesn't have that. He needs to really focus on what he wants to do in Congress, as opposed to just beating up on Paul Ryan every day.
And Brian, Reince Priebus's name being mentioned, he would have the money, the infrastructure to get a campaign up running quickly. Do you think that's a possibility? Who's going to be in here?
Well, I think you're going to see a lot of possibilities come out. Reince would make a great candidate. He knows the district. People seem to forget he's from that district. But there's also 2 or 3 state senators that are out there, and some names out of Janesville you're also here. Joe and I agree on this. The candidate's going to have to come forth. Is going to have to articulate a vision for that district rather than just being against something. And that's the way that this race is most significantly changed.
All right, Brian and Joe, we appreciate your insight, and we're going to have much more coverage on Speaker Ryan's future and a closer look at all of his accomplishments. It's all coming up on Live at 5.